Hi there, guys. Hope you're all doing well. And I just quickly wanted to share this amazing development tool I discovered, I think a few months back. I was about to buy the Ray plugin and the Ray by Sparty Ray. And I actually did a video on all the tools I've been using. And this is that video, Best PHP and WordPress Development Workflow in 2023. So in that video, I mentioned the use of Sparty Ray along with all the other development tools I use. So let me just show you guys. So Sparty Ray is, of course, a premium application that helps you output debugging or code outputs basically into a specific app, which is basically a HTTP server, right? So this was a bit expensive for me technically, given my wage in India and stuff. So I was looking for an alternative, and what I could figure out was using this HTTP dump. HTTP dump, I think it's also by the same company, Beyond Code, or yeah. So what this was doing is it actually gives you a URL, and then you output your code to that, dump your code to that URL, basically do a post request or so. Yeah. So that wasn't very helpful, I think, because first of all, it wasn't offline, so you'd always need to be connected, because you'd think when you're developing something locally, you don't want necessarily the bulk of connecting or sending to a separate server, so that that also compromises with the speed of the whole thing. Having everything locally, it just feels so fast. And this is also pretty limited in many cases. It starts to freeze sometimes when you have too much data in the payload and stuff. So the later solution for me was the query monitor. They had these hooks, the logger hooks, which you could use. You could learn more about them here, which you could use. Okay, so that page is okay. Anyways, you could check it out here. I think it will be somewhere here. Log. Okay, yeah, profiling and logging. So I think, yeah, so these are them. You could do action, and then you'd attach anything there, and then that will be logged in the logs panel here in Query Monitor. But that was also not very efficient for all the pages or behind the scenes code that ran through, say, Ajax or such stuff. And I really needed something like Sparty Ray, where you could easily just see everything, like you'd see. Let's just go to that application page, and you'd see what I'm talking about. You write your code, then basically do just Ray, and in that Ray parameters, you would just provide any data you have, and then that will basically get outputted with the exact line from where it got called, and a bit more information, the time, etc., the times, and you could have other separation like adding, highlighting features, colors, etc. So that was very cool, of course. And yeah, so technically I was going to, but then I thought, why not search for something that is open source, that is available for maybe free, because development has been that way from quite a long time. Yeah. So while searching for that, I found Buggregator, and I must say it is, I think, the best open source tool for PHP developers or anyone in general, I think, because it's not only for PHP developers, it's for anyone who uses Sentry or HTTP dumping, etc. There's just profiling, there's just all kinds of tools available. So let's just quickly take a look at Buggregator. And if you search for Buggregator, this will be the first thing that comes. So it basically runs on Docker. So you would need Docker installed. I do have it already installed. So what you do need to do after installing Docker is simply run this command for the latest stable release, and it will pull the Docker image for that Buggregator application and create the necessary tooling basically. And you would have your application homepage. So basically it creates a web server instead of a complete app which you can open. So what I do is open this 127.0.0.1 at 8000. So this is the port that it runs on, and then you would have all kinds of tools available here. This one just gives you everything, the events, there's Sentry, there's Profiler, there's SMTP. So you would, if you have used something like Mailhog, etc., you could replace it with just this simple one application which handles it all. And I believe the port is 1025. You have all the information in this documentation here. So if you were to check out the SMTP server, you just need to set the host and port to 1025 and then 127.0.1. Right. So that's it. But let's take a look at how it replaces Ray. I mean, it does everything what Ray does. And I think for open source, this is the best alternative. Yeah. So what we'll do is as I've said, I've already have it installed, and it's very dead simple to install. You just go to Buggregator docs and then simply do this, and it's installed. Just make sure that Docker is running, and that's it. You just need to open this URL and maybe pin it. So I have pinned it just because I'm using whichever application I'm debugging or working on. So let's open a WP dev instance I have. So you'd see here there's nothing at the moment, but we'll install the Ray plugin. And I'll show you how it works with Buggregator. You don't even need the Ray app anymore. You just search for Ray. I think it's Party Ray here. Yeah, okay, yeah, so Ray. Okay, it's installed. Let's activate it. But then to use it, we just need to tweak a simple thing. And let me show you what you need to do. Okay, so I have something else open. Let me open the WP project here. And in here, in Sparty Ray, all you need to do is find this specific line. You will just need to find localhost. And there are two places where the host settings are set for the Ray to, because Ray is also using in the application an HTTP server. So we just need to replace that. We just need to call it instead of localhost, we'll just say, although it's the same, but for some reason it works only if I say 107.0.1 in my case. And then the port to 8000. So it's in this settings. I believe settings is in this. As you can see, WP content plugins Party Ray vendor, and these are the auto-loaded files via the composer vendor. So definitely you could get away with a simple find and replace, and you would look for localhost and then replace the host with 127.0.1 and then port with 8000. And same in the client.php file, you would replace 107.0.1 and then 8000 for the port number, right? And this is it. This is pretty much it. We have it ready. So let's do a test. Actually, we could do anything, but let me just let's create a new plugin from our watchR WP and then use that. Let's call it test WP, and I'm sure it will generate it. Okay. So by the way, if you don't know what's this, it's a plugin boilerplate I've created, and it gives you a beautiful UI with modern tooling to get started and quickly build a WordPress plugin. So enough about that. Let's just install this plugin which we just generated. And I'm gonna upload that. Downloads, test wp.zip, install now. and we'll hit activate. So it will throw a notice because this needs to be built first. Sorry. Yeah, as you can see, but we don't need to do all of that. We are not gonna look into that. We just need a way to simply output something or do something, right? So in the test WP, there is, of course, let's just not get in there. We just need to get into this part. I think we'll still need to run the composer. Yeah, let me just get this here, run the composer bit, and I'm using aliases because I have multiple PHP versions. So let me just say which composer and then install. So I'm using Valet, by the way, to run these WordPress sites or any site I have, PHP server. So we have it ready. I think now this will go away. Yeah, so that's gone, and we can ignore this because this is basically the test, the files, React files that are not built and being included in the spider things. So what we can do is basically try to run something here. Let's just say Ray hi, and then so basically Ray plugin is giving us this function which you can use to output anything, right? And traditionally, if you were to have used Ray, that would output in the Ray application, but that's a premium application, as I said, and without shelling out anything from your pocket, you can use this Buggregator and have almost the same features. So Ray, and then if you were to refresh this page, you'll see that it will get logged here. I think it didn't rain. Let me just so why it didn't run. Okay, yeah. So we missed one important thing. Actually, I really should have thought beforehand. When we were replacing the local host and the port, etc., I forgot there's one important thing. That is, 127.1 in the client and the settings part, we need to say, because Ray has multiple features Buggregator has multiple separate features such as this Ray functionality, and then there's XHS prof, var dumper, sentry, SMTP, monologue, inspector, HTTP dumps, and there's a way you'd separate all this, and that's what we're going to look into. And there's, if you were to follow this, you would do it in almost instantly, but I was just doing it out of my own, and I forgot a bit of that, and that is to include Ray at 127.0.1, and now that will output our things directly to the server. So you can see here this says Ray server, which is at Ray at 127.0.1. And similarly for Sentry, I think it's Sentry at 127.0.1. So now let's try that again. We will just replace in the settings and then in the client. I'll just go and say Ray at 127.0.1. Sorry for that. And we can just scrap that, and let's try to run it from the main plugin file first. We'll say hello this time, and let's just make sure that there's nothing here. There's nothing. Then if you go back and hit refresh, of course you'll see this, the output data, and you would have everything here: line number, the host name, the file from where it is being called, if it is from Laravel, and if definitely there's PHP version and all sorts of stuff. I think this is pretty good. I mean, the best alternative for not just Ray but any other tooling you would have, such as HTTP dumping, to Sentry, or to SMTP. We can do a bit more sophisticated debugging here. I mean, not just outputting simple strings. You'd expect it to work anywhere, right? So as you can see here, we have a few instances here. So let's just see what do we get in the options manager object. And let's just object, or actually let's output the whole object of plugin instance, right? So we'll say Ray, and then we'll just output this, right? And you'll see how beautifully it does that. I'll just refresh it. I'm gonna skip that, and let me just refresh this. And that should, exactly as you can see here, this outputs everything we have in that instance object. And you can very easily debug things with this, and you will expect it to work anywhere, be it in AJAX calls or REST API calls, anywhere where the data is, unreachable to the front end, and you would not expect it to work in a simple refresh, and it will basically be a background job. So in such cases, Ray, or in all the other cases, a plugin like Ray and with Buggregator, it gets way easier, right? And it's the same with HTTP dumps. You could also do HTTP dumps, and HTTP dumps work in similar way. In WordPress, you would just do WP remote post, and then the URL will be your, of course. Now this part, as I said, it was earlier for Ray at. Now this time we'll do HTTP and HTTP. Do remember that what I'm doing here, because this HTTP is the protocol, and the other one is for the Buggregator segregation thing, right? So one is 7.0.1 and 8000. I know it's a mouthful, but you could either set it as a constant and just keep using it, so that's a bit easier as well, I think. Set this as a constant in the WP config file, and you would not need to worry about it. Say here, we'll just say find Buggregator Ray URL, and then Buggregator Ray URL, and we'll do Buggregator HTTP URL, and then we'll just do HTTP here, right? Now we have constants, and we can simply use them. And WP remote post, it takes an array, and then the body is your payload, and then body is also an array. So you can do anything here. We can basically say object. You can name it anything, object, data. This is just to show you that this is not limited by what I am doing, right? And now we can just say this, and this will output that. But this is very limited because the HTTP part, of course, because this will need to be parsed, basically the object. So not everything will be shown as is, like you saw here with a complete Ray dump, which basically under the hood uses the Symfony var dumper, as far as I remember, and that's very extensive. That's how you can see everything here in the objects, such as the private variables as well as public ones, right? So let's try that. We'll expect to see something in this HTTP dumps once we refresh the page. So let's do that. And I'm going to go here now. Okay, was the Buggregator HTTP URL TP. I think. Oh yeah, I think it's HTTP dump. I think. Yeah, it's not just HTTP. There, as I said, yeah, it's HTTP dump, HTTP-dump, and let's just refresh it again. Silly developer mistakes. it will show up here. As you can see here, it's a post request, and it shows up like this. But if you were to click on it, you will see a bit more than that. As you can see here, it didn't actually dump anything because we simply dumped everything from that object. And unlike the previous array call which uses var dumper, this is not that. And you would expect everything to be parsed basically. So a simple array would work. For example, let's just say let's just get WP get, is there anything, get plugins. Let's just get plugins because this returns us an array, right? Now we'll just say plugins, and then we'll have the plugin data. 100% sure this time. Let's refresh that. There has been a critical error because of course the plugins get plugins hasn't been loaded the function because this comes from and this needs to be called inside a WordPress hook, and this is the bare bones. Let's just run it in the WP, or sorry, but in it. Actually admin init hook, and just run it in there, and we call it an anonymous function, and this time it will work. I hope so. And since we ran that, as you can see here, there's another post request. You can also separate these HTTP requests here and the HTTP dump section, and it is in this order, that the first one being the latest. So as you can see here, there's the whole post data. It's formatted at first via for the body. As you can see here, it's plugins which we separated ourselves, and there's the data. And this is our pure raw body data, and this is I think pretty good. And you can also replace it for Sentry if you're using Sentry, such as in Laravel, etc. I do have a project in Laravel, and I can show you the same thing, not the Sentry part, but the Sentry will need all sorts of setup, and I can just simply switch to the Laravel app I have locally. So this is the Laravel app, and by the way, if you're not aware, I recently launched this myawp.com project, and this is that app because it's a Laravel app under the hood. Let me just open it, myawp.test. By that .test domain, you would understand this is running locally in a Valet instance, and we'll just log something from this user's page, right? So let's load that. So we'll have to, as if you have worked with Laravel, you'd know that everything here works via controllers. I mean, most routing and everything. So we have our managed subscription controller where we do our users outputs or the users page rendering, right? So this is using inertia under the hood, and this is a few things. So let's do what? Let's try to output this data, right? And we can include and import the same array library from Composer dependencies, the Composer packages library. But instead, let's just do for now a simple HTTP dump. As you saw, we did in WP with WP remote post. We will use here the HTTP facade from Laravel. And let's do that. Let's use it here, HTTP, and it's HTTP. So the facades are basically classes with static methods to them, functions. And then the first parameter to post or get will be your URL, such as the same with WP remote post. And again, we'll do the same HTTP protocol and then HTTP dump at 107.0.1 issue 8000. Again, you can set up a constant here as well and do that. And by the way, the second parameter by default the body. So you can simply do array, and we can do the user uses, and let's just try to dump call it say users, and then try to dump this first, right? We want to actually get the whole users for our current user, right, which is this. Let's see what we have in the table. We'll see all sorts of data if all is in an array, because you would expect the HTTP dumps to be parsed, right? Now if you were to refresh this page, it will post an HTTP dump, right? As you can see here, let's just open it, and you can see here this is the whole thing. This now has the users, which has an ID 6, usable type. We have the data from the database. This can go in depth. There's a lot of that you can do, but this was just a quick example. I don't want this video to be too long, as I generally tend to do with all my other videos. And this was a quick showcase, at least in my version of quick showcase of Buggregator with Laravel and WordPress. And you can use this anywhere without paying a dime for it. And though you can always support Buggregator development anyhow possible to you, the GitHub's repo is available. You can sponsor Butchester, I think, who is the developer of it, Pavel Buchnev, and he's a great guy, of course, since he has made all this cool stuff. There's a profiler, var dumper, and then the SMTP server, etc. So definitely check that out and try it, and tell me how it is for you. And if you're having some trouble activating or achieving this, do let me know in the comments. And again, I'll wish you a very happy holidays and Christmas, and a very happy new year as well, in case I don't get to see you in another video. Peace.